Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to make this bustier gathered dress that I'm wearing. And I achieved this style using 3 yards of African print fabric. So if you find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. So I made use of 3 yards of this beautiful African print fabric, and you're also going to need your lining for turning over. I have my other materials here, so let's jump right into the tutorial. So I'll be drafting the upper part of this dress on the pattern paper. So the first thing you want to do is to mark out a straight line at the upper part, which is going to serve as the shoulder line. And then the wideness of the paper I have here is my bust measurements divided by 4 plus extra 3 inches. So because this dress is an off-shoulder dress, I'm going to place my tape rule 7 inches above the shoulder line to give my off-shoulder effect. You can even do as low as 8 inches, or you can just do it up to your chest line so that it doesn't disturb you around the armhole area. So for mine, I used 7 inches, which is 1 inch above my chest line. So to mark all the vertical measurements, you're going to place your tape rule 7 inches above the shoulder line, and then the first measurement I'm going to mark is from my shoulder to my nipple point. So for mine it is 10.5 inches, so go ahead to mark your own correct measurement. The next one is from my shoulder to my under bust, which is 13.5 inches, and to my half length, which is 16 inches. I'll add 1 extra inch for the joining allowance, and then I would extend the lines this way and label them accordingly to avoid any confusion. So after that, the next thing is to mark out the dart. So I'll come over to the center front, which is the completely closed part of my paper, and then I'll mark my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2. Mine is 4 inches. I'll mark that 4 inches on all the lines and then connect the points together. Make sure to mark your own correct measurement. So after that, we'll take the underbust tightening. So on the underbust line, I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides of the line. But say if you're working with a bigger bust, you can do 1.5 inches towards this side. But for mine, I used 1 inch. And then on the half length line, I'm going to do 1 inch on both sides again and connect the points together. After that, I'll come over to the bust line and come down by 1 inch. And then I'll use the curved part of my ruler to connect it all the way to meet the underbust this way. The next thing we want to do is to take the overbust tightening. So on both sides of the line, I'm going to mark 0.5 inches. That's half an inch on both sides. A bigger size can do 0.75 on both sides. And then I'll take my ruler again and connect it all the way to the bust line this way. After doing that, the next thing is to place the round body measurement. So on this first line, which is the chest line, I'm going to mark my bust measurements divided by 4, which is 10.5 inches. So you're not going to add this over bust tightening that, you're going to just leave it out because you want to use it to tighten that upper area. And then I'll add my seam allowance of 1.5 inches to make 12 inches. So on this bust line, I'm going to be marking the same 12 inches. So on the underbust line, I'll mark my round underbust measurements divided by 4, which is 8.5 inches. I'll add these 2 inches for that, and then I'll add 1.5 inches for seam allowance to make 12 inches. And on the half length line, I'll mark my round waist measurements divided by 4. I'll add the dart and add my seam allowance. So go ahead to connect all the points together this way. So I made a little adjustment on the overbust tightening. I added extra half an inch towards this side. So right now I have 1 inch. This is just to help define the bust area very well. So we're going to be cutting out this new line. So let's go ahead to cut out the pattern. And then I'll open up the dart areas this way. So after cutting out, this is what it looks like. So we have 3 pieces for the front. So when cutting on my fabric, I'm going to add half an inch to all these dart areas to serve as the joining allowance. So I'll set this aside now while we work on the back panel. For the back panel, I have a single pattern paper here. It's not in a fold of 2. And towards the center back, I have a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So just like we did with the front, I'm going to place my tape rule 7 inches above the shoulder line to mark the vertical measurement. So I'll mark the first one. I'll mark from my shoulder to my half length, which is 17 inches, and then extend the line. And then I'll mark from my shoulder to my bust line, which is 10.5 inches. So go ahead to mark your own correct measurement and label the lines appropriately. So the next thing to do is to place the dart. So from this zipper line, I'm going to come in by my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2, which is 4 inches. I'll mark it on all the 3 lines and connect the points together. So on the waistline, I'll take half an inch on both sides, and then I'll use my ruler to extend it all the way up this way. After that, the next thing is to place the body measurement. So still starting from that zipper line, I'll place the bust measurements divided by 4 plus 1.5 inches for seam allowance. I'll also add this half an inch on the bust line, the half an inch that on the bust line to the measurement. And then I'll place the same thing on this bust line. On the waistline, I'll mark my round waist measurements divided by 4, and I'll add 1 inch for that and 1.5 inches for seam allowance. After marking your own correct measurements, go ahead to connect the points together this way. So let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, we're going to be eliminating 0.5 inches from the zipper allowance to avoid any form of zipper bulge. And then I'll connect that 0.5 inches all the way up this way, forming a slant. So we're going to be cutting out this part. After that, I'll come over to the center back again and come up by 1 inch. This is going to help your zipper sit very well at the back. And then I'll connect it all the way to the side, forming a slant. And I'll also cut it out. So we're going to open up the that area on the back panel so that we can have just one piece of the back. So I'll use my masking tape now to join these two pieces together, so that when I'm cutting on my fabric, I'll be cutting out a whole fabric and I'll be needing 2 pieces of it. So we're done with the pattern drafting part of this tutorial. So I'll use the patterns now to cut on my fabric and I'll show you guys. So I have used the patterns to cut out my fabric, and this is what it looks like. So like I said earlier, I added half an inch to all the dart areas, as you can see, and I added extra half an inch for turning over with the lining at the base. So I joined the two patterns of the back panels together and I use it to cut out 2 pieces of fabric. So I also have my lining cut out already. So I'll be modifying the patterns of the front panel to cut out the breast pad. So we're going to be padding the front part of our dress. So from the under bust line, I'm going to just cut it out this way. And for the sides, I'll take my nipple to nipple measurements divided by 2 on the bust line, which is 4 inches. And then go ahead to just connect it, forming a curve this way. So I'm going to use these patterns now to cut on the breast part. So this is a form of interfacing, but it is very thick and you can use it to pad your bustier. So I'll place my pattern on it this way, making sure it's in a fold of 2, and then cut it out. So after cutting, this is what we have, and I'll cut out for the sides as well. So I have 2 pieces of the sides, as you can see. So on my fabric now, I'm going to iron this interfacing to the bust area. So I'll place the side of the interfacing that has the gum on the wrong side of my fabric this way and go ahead to iron it out so that it sticks together. I'll repeat the same process for the sides and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after doing all of that, this is what we have, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. The next thing we want to do is to join all 3 fabrics together. So I'm going to place them now right sides facing each other this way, and then I'll use that half an inch that I added to the dart area to close it up all the way down. So make sure you follow the shape while you are stitching so that your bustier comes out very neat. So for the lining pieces, before joining them, you can go ahead to iron your stay to it so that it gives it a bit of weight, and then join all 3 pieces together just like the fabric. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys. So guys, after joining the fabrics together, this is what we have. I'll go ahead now to notch the seam area opened. Go ahead to cut it open so that it relaxes well on the right side, and I'll repeat the same thing on the lining. After that, the next thing is to iron the seam open. So go ahead to place your bustier on a circular surface or on your tailor's ham, and then open up the seam with your iron. So you iron the seam area opened, as this is going to contribute to the overall appearance of your bustier on the right side. So this is me just trying to open it up with my iron. Make sure the iron is very hot while you are doing this. So after ironing, I'm going to just flip my bustier now to the right side, and you're still going to iron out this right side while still placing it on the circular surface. Go ahead to iron out the seam so that it sits very well. So you can see how beautiful and well structured my bustier looks on the right side. So before we turn over with our lining, we're going to be attaching our spaghetti straps, and I'm gonna head to cut out the fabrics I'll be using. So I have 4 pieces of it, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. And for the length, I have 35 inches. You can decide to make yours longer, and the width, I have 2 inches. So I'll fold in the edges this way, and then after folding, I'll fold again into 2, and then proceed to stitch it all the way down. So I'll repeat this process on the remaining 3 and show you guys. So guys, this is what we have after creating. Just go ahead to iron it out. So I'll set the ones for the back aside while we work on the front. So for the front, from the bustier joining, I'm going to come out by 1.5 inches and place my strap there. You can just use your pins to hold it down, and on the other side, I'll come out by 1.5 inches and then use my pin to hold it down. So right now, I'll take it to my sewing machine and stitch down the strap to the bustier. So after stitching down the straps, the next thing is to turn over with the lining. I'll place them right sides facing each other this way. I'll close up the upper part using half an inch. I'll close up the sides as well. For the base, I'll close it all, but I'll leave a little part opened for turning over. So before I took out the pattern from the back panels, I went ahead to notch the sides so I don't get confused with the fabrics after taking out the patterns. So I'm going to place my straps now. I'll be coming in by 4 inches from the side. You can do 5 inches or 6 inches depending on what you want. So for mine, I came in by 4 inches from the side, and then I'll place my straps there and stitch it down. After stitching, I'll place my lining on it this way and go ahead to close it up all around it. So I'll leave an opening at the base for turning over, just like I explained. So when I'm done with all of that, I'll show you guys. So after joining the lining to the fabric, this is what we have. Before we turn it over, I'm going to just notch the seam opened on the neckline area, on the chest line. So after notching, I'll use that tiny space I left to turn over the fabric. After I turned over, this is what it looks like. I'm going to just make sure to bring out all the edges and then iron it out. So to keep my lining in place, I'm going to be top stitching on this chest line. I'll top stitch on this upper part all the way down so that it keeps my lining in place. So I'll turn my back panels to the right side also. So these are the back panels. I'll turn it over to the right side, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, after I ironed it out, this is what we have. You can see how neat it looks. And for the back panels, this is what we have. This is what it looks like now. The next thing we want to do is to join the front and the back panels together. So I'm going to place them right sides facing each other. And at this point, you can decide to want to reconfirm your measurements before closing up the sides. But for mine, I'm still going to maintain my 1.5 inches seam allowance and close up the sides. So when I'm done doing all of that, I will show you guys. So after closing up, this is what it looks like. So the next one we want to work on is the lower part of our dress. So the first thing you want to do is to measure what you have on the waistline. So for mine, I have my waist measurements plus 2 extra inches for my zipper. So if yours is not correct, you can just go ahead to adjust the allowance you took on both sides. I hope you guys understand. So for mine, I have 36 inches. So for the first layer of my gathers, the width of the fabric is going to be times 2 of whatever I have on the waistline. So since I have 36 inches on the waistline, I'm going to multiply it by 2 to make 72 inches as the width of the fabric. So the full length of my dress is 38 inches, and I already used 16 inches for this upper part. So I'm left with 22 inches for the lower part, and since the lower part is in layers, I have 2 layers. So I'm going to divide the 22 inches by 2. So each layer is going to be 11 inches, but I'm going to cut out 12 inches for both because of the joining allowance and the folding allowance. I hope you guys understand. So I'll go ahead to cut out the first layer and show you guys. So like I said earlier, the width of the first layer is going to be whatever you have on the waist divided by 2. So for mine it is 72 inches, but if you want yours fuller you can do times 2.5. So I have cut it out and this is what we have. So like I said, the length of the first layer is 12 inches and the wideness is about 72 inches. So I had to join at the center point. So before I join this first layer to the upper part of my dress, I'm going to create the lower gathers first. So to get the wideness of fabric for the lower gathers, I'm going to multiply the 72 inches I have here by 2 to make 144. So my lower gathers fabric is going to be 144 inches wide. So I've gone ahead to cut it out and I had to join on several spots, as you can see. So the first thing we're going to do is to finish up the base by folding in twice. Just fold in half an inch twice and stitch it all the way down. It's going to take a while. After that, if you have a weaving machine, go ahead to weave the upper part. But if you don't have one, just fold in again. But this time you're going to just take very tiny piece of fabric and fold in twice and then stitch it all the way down. So this process might take a while because of how wide the fabric is. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after folding in the upper and the lower part of this fabric, this is what it looks like. So we're going to be attaching this fabric now to the right side. So this is the reason why we have to finish up even the upper part of the fabric. So we're going to pleat it on the right side this way, all the way down. So get the midpoint of the upper layer, fold into two and get the midpoint. So for mine it is on the joint area, and then I got the midpoint of the lower layer as well. So I'll place it on it this way. Starting from that midpoint, I'll go ahead to just gather it while I join together. When I'm done, I'll come over to the other side and also gather it in while I join together. Just keep gathering while you are joining. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys. So after creating the gathers on the right side, this is what it looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks. So the next thing we want to do is to gather the upper parts into the waistline of our dress. So I'm going to get the midpoint of this part now, fold it into two and get the midpoint. So right now I'm going to merge the midpoint of this fabric to it this way, and I use my pin to hold it down. And then I'll take the edge of the fabric and merge it to the side this way, and then use your pin to hold it down. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. So after pinning, I'm going to start from this midpoint and go ahead to just gather this excess fabric into the waistline this way. You can also create your gathers first before you attach it to the waistline. It just depends on whichever method you want. So after I'm done creating my gathers, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after joining together, this is what we have. You can see how beautiful these gathers looks, and this is what it looks like on the wrong side. So the next thing we want to do is to close up the back of our dress. So since this dress is going to have a zipper, I'm going to come down by 15 inches from the back neckline. I'll come down by 15 inches, and from that 15 inches mark, I'm going to close it up all the way down. After closing up, this is what we have. The last and final thing to do is to insert the zipper. So I'll flip my dress over to the wrong side, and then you can go ahead to just iron out your zipper allowance. So go ahead to iron out your zipper allowance so that it sits very well. And then I'll place the right side of my zipper facing the fabric this way. I'll fold in the edge and then go ahead to stitch it all the way down on one side. You can use your pins to hold it down before stitching. When I'm done with that side, I'll stitch the other side. I'll fold in the edge and stitch it all the way down. So after inserting the zipper, this is what it looks like. This is what the front of the dress also looks like. So guys, this is how we end this video for today. I hope you found it useful and I hope you learned something new. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, share to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.